All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're diving into a seriously chilling explainer of a haunting that unearths a horrific, long-buried past. We are breaking down a terrifying narrative from the modernized village of Fulwa. It's a story that brilliantly showcases how unresolved historical injustices can violently, and I mean violently, clash with the present. We're going to walk through the exact sequence of events, map out the local lore, and really unpack the anatomy of a curse that absolutely devastated an unsuspecting family. So what actually happens when your brand new house is built right on top of an old graveyard? I mean, picture this. You're seeking peace after the tragic loss of your only son. That is exactly what our main subjects, Kishore Lau and his wife Sarla, were trying to do. They moved to the rapidly developing Fulwa village to build a fresh sanctuary for themselves. But what they didn't realize was that urban expansion had paved right over the village's old forgotten graveyard. They literally built their foundation on top of buried secrets, completely setting the stage for a catastrophic supernatural collision. Section 1. The Terrifying Curse of Kaali. We start our timeline in the seemingly quiet, modernized village, where the horrific haunting officially begins for the couple. And what starts as this subtle paranoia quickly unravels into full-blown supernatural warfare right inside their own courtyard. On just their second night in the new house, the dread really sets in. At exactly 3 a.m., Sarla is abruptly awakened by the distinct, metallic chime of anklets. She looks out into the courtyard and witnesses a terrifying vision, the shadow of a woman with piercing red eyes, screaming for help amidst an illusion of roaring flames. It's a classic hallmark of a residual haunting, sure, but as we'll see, this entity is actively hunting for a host. Section 2. The Shadow in the New House. The terror ramps up so fast here. It escalates from these midnight visions into tangible, waking nightmares that entirely blur the line between reality and the supernatural. The entity isn't just making noise anymore, it's actively attacking their psychological state. In the middle of a scorching summer afternoon, Sarla steps outside to, well, basically a waking nightmare. She sees her husband violently digging in the courtyard. But it's not just digging. He's bleeding from his eyes, his nails are tearing away from the flesh, and then a rotting hand actually bursts from the subterranean earth to choke him. A demonic voice whispers that this will be their last night. It's just a visceral sensory overload specifically designed to break Sarla's mind and push her toward drastic action. Now, I absolutely love this detail because it brilliantly illustrates traditional folklore mechanics in action. Pushed to the brink, Sarla relies on ancestral knowledge and uses this ancient three-step test. She recites her family deity's name, places 3 fresh lemons on the suspected haunted soil, and waits. In mere moments, the lemons don't just rot. They turn pitch black and emit a putrid, foul odor. For Sarla, this physical evidence confirms without a doubt that a malevolent force is indeed lurking beneath her soil. Section 3. Awakening the Dark Power. This is the point of no return. Confirmed by the dark, rotting lemons, Sarla makes the fateful decision to take matters into her own hands. In the dead of night, driven by this mix of intense fear and a strange compulsion, she grabs a shovel and starts digging up the courtyard herself. She strikes something hard in the dirt and unearths an ancient, mysterious idol. Tragically, because of the idol's deceptive appearance, Sarla mistakes a demonic vessel for a divine blessing. She actually weeps, saying, "Mother, you have incarnated in my courtyard. I am blessed." This completely lowers her defenses, allowing a quick black smoke to pour right out of the artifact and physically possess her body. The physical transformation of the host is stark, and it's immediate. Before the possession, Sarla was timid. She suffered from a severe hunched back for over a decade. But after the entity takes over, her physical ailment is instantly cured. She stands perfectly straight. However, it comes at a horrific cost. Glowing red eyes, unnatural superhuman strength, and a sudden, primal craving for raw meat. The dark entity healed her physical body, only to completely twist and corrupt her soul. Once possessed, the whole domestic environment just shatters. The possessed Sarla's actions become increasingly violent and frankly bizarre. She plunges the house into darkness, draws reverse swastikas, and chants terrifying unknown mantras. But the entity's hunger grows way beyond the house. It demands bloody sacrifices. This leads to the butchering of a local cat, and she even manipulates a terrified neighbor into beheading the village head's dog at midnight. She is spreading a literal wave of terror throughout the entire community just to feed the idol's power. Meanwhile, Kishore discovers the gruesome bloody altar his wife has built in their storeroom. After barely escaping her unnatural, bone-crushing grip, he runs for his life to a local tantric for desperate answers. Section 4. The dark truth of the past. Sitting in the dim light of the tantric's home, Kishore gets an absolute bombshell dropped on him. The tantric tells him, the one you consider Mother Kaali is no goddess, but an evil spirit. This revelation entirely recontextualizes the haunting. He pulls back the curtain on the village's deeply buried sins, explaining that the entity inhabiting Sarla is absolutely not a divine protector. It is a vengeful, malevolent human spirit wrapped in centuries of rage. This history is absolutely fascinating because Kaali wasn't always a monster. She was actually a victim. Years ago, she was betrayed by the village Pradhan's son strictly because of her lower caste status. Driven mad by grief and rejection, she retreated to the cremation grounds, turning to dark magic and cannibalism. In retaliation, the village leaders brutally burned her alive in her hut. But her rage transcended death. She cursed the bloodline, driving her former lover to suicide until the old tantric finally sealed her soul into an idol and buried it. And that burial spot? Yeah, it's the exact plot of land where Kishore and Sarla built their new courtyard. Section 5. The Horrifying End and Sacrifice. Armed with this terrifying historical truth, Kishore and the current tantric, who, by the way, happens to be the son of the man who originally sealed the spirit, rush back to the house. They are in a desperate race against time to stop Kaali before her dark ascension is complete. They kick open the doors, interrupting Sarla, who is mid-ritual, preparing to sacrifice a goat. But Kaali is waiting for them. She immediately recognizes the tantric's bloodline, sneering, "Your father imprisoned me once, but this time I will not lose." She remembers the man who trapped her decades ago, and her accumulated supernatural strength is entirely focused on ensuring she is never imprisoned again. Despite their best efforts to intervene, tragedy strikes instantly. Kishore desperately tries to reach his wife, begging her to fight the possession, but Kaali unleashes her immense, terrifying power. She lifts Kishore and violently throws him against the stone wall. He is killed instantly, right in front of the chanting tantric. The husband who just wanted a peaceful home becomes collateral damage to a decades-old vendetta. What follows is this incredibly brutal battle of wills. The tantric engages in relentless, deafening chanting, pushing his mystical abilities to the absolute limit. His assault finally forces Kaali's raw spirit out of Sarla's physical body. But uncontained, the invisible, raw spirit immediately turns its wrath on the tantric, mangling his body in the air like a rag doll. The exorcism works, but the battle is being severely lost. Which brings us to the crucial point of the story, Sarla's ultimate, tragic redemption. She regains consciousness just as her husband lies dead and the tantric is being torn apart. She pieces together the horrific reality that she was the one who dug up the idol. She invited the evil in. In an incredible act of bravery and self-sacrifice, she grabs the cursed idol with her bare hands and plunges herself directly into the blazing Agni Kund, the ritual fire pit. The flames consume her, but they also shatter the idol, burning away the anchor to Kaali's curse forever. As the agonizing screams finally fade out and the house falls into a deafening, dead silence, we are left to look at this final question. Kaali was a monster, yes, for sure, but a monster created by the village's own prejudice and cruelty. It really begs us to wonder, when we pave over the past to build our comfortable futures, how many other buried injustices are just waiting under our feet, ready to be unearthed? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. Keep questioning what lies beneath the surface.